Okay, so here we are sa ating fourth installment ng theory ni Sigmund Freud, psychoanalytic theory of personality. So here we are sa slide na kung saan nakikita ninyo yung ah, parang clinic, no? Yung consulting room ni Sigmund Freud. So, very famous yung ganitong setup sa theory niya in terms of therapy or counseling, no? Now, wherein there is a couch and then the client will lie down on that couch without seeing his or her therapist. So, si therapist or si psychoanalyst kadalasan ay talagang hindi niya nakikita or out of awareness, no? Para kung ano man yung mga sasabihin ni client, um, ay hindi mababahira ng kahit na anong bias, no? Dahil sa meron siyang nakikita. So again, ang makikita niya lang is yung kisame, di ba, wherein wala namang nakalagay doon, no, it's a blank space. So, ganon usually yung free association technique which is very famous, no, dun sa theory ni Freud. Yan, and also yung hypnosis, ginagamit din niya yun. Yan, kaya nakahiga din most of the time yung client, yan, nakapikit, ganon, and then, yun na, doon na magaganap yung tinatawag na hypnosis. And then the catharsis or the cathartic method will also follow, no? Once na yung emotions like anger, hurt, pain, and sadness ma-feel ng client. So, mas relaxing kasi kapag nakahiga, no, yung client. So, ngayon, in modern day setting, di naman necessarily na nakahiga yung client. No? Pwede naman na talaga nakaupo. And sa counseling technique, kailangan magkaharap talaga sila, di ba? Kumaga, may eye contact kasi mahalaga din yun na makita nung therapist kung may kakayahan ba si client to yun nga, magkaroon ng eye contact and of course, yung kanya mga behavioral uh, tendencies, kailangan din makita ni therapist yun para ma-observe niya, no, kung ano ba siya, fidgety ba siya or yung kanyang itsura, yung suot niya, yung how or she present herself, no, kailangan makita yon. So, okay, now let's go to the applications of the psychoanalytic theory. Alright, so here is Freud's early therapeutic technique, extracting repressed childhood memories or pressure technique. So also known as the theory of seduction. So ito, dito sa therapeutic technique na to, yun nga, since we are using various or different defense mechanism to protect our ego from threat or from any danger, no, kadalasan, yun nga, kapag sumisiksik ito or gusto niyang kumawala doon sa conscious awareness, mas nagki-create ng more anxiety to us. Kaya sa therapy, using, yun nga, psychoanalysis, ang ginagamit ni Freud is to extract, no? Kailangan kasing maalala ulit, no? Kailangang ma-bring back into conscious awareness yung mga bagay na hindi mo naman sinasadyang makalimutan, no? This is a highly suggestive procedure dahil usually sa halimbawa sa hypnosis, ano, sabi nga natin hindi naman kumbaga mahirap ma-hypnotize yung mga tao na hindi suggestible o yung mga tao na hindi naman talaga totally naniniwala sa ganong paraan. Alright, so dapat daw ay merong konting, kumbaga medyo hindi naman uto-uto, no? Pero parang medyo, ano ka, suggestible ka, no? Yung kumbaga parang ikaw mismo yung kung pumapayag ka, yung ganun, o kaya naman naniniwala ka doon sa procedure. Kasi kung hindi, totally talaga 100% na may duda ka, ganyan, minsan hindi talaga applicable, no, yung hypnosis. So, yan. A majority of his patients reproduce childhood scenes in which they were sexually seduced by some adult. Yan. Kaya talagang naniniwala si Sigmund, no, na mayroon talagang highly sexual content ang ating childhood dahil nga noong araw, nung yun nga, marami na siyang na psychoanalyst, no, marami na siyang na-analyze na tao, usually kapag binabalikan yung mga past experiences, specifically the childhood memories, merong mga lumalabas talaga na kwento na sila ay naabuso, no, sexually abused, ganyan, nung bata pa sila. So, syempre yung karanasan na yun, hindi yun maganda and it's traumatic. So, it it was repressed, no, by our ego, and then ayun, kaso nga nagke-create siya ng more anxiety nung tayo ay adult na. That's why we need to extract those memories, no? So, yan. Ito yung isa sa mga example, no, na sinabi niya. Ayan, sabi niya, I placed my hand on the patient's forehead or took her head between my hands and said, you will think of it under the pressure of my hand. At the moment at which I relax my pressure, you will see something in front of you or something will come into your head. Catch hold of it. It will be what we are looking for. Well, what have you seen or what has occurred to you? Yan. So, gano'n, no? Parang free association nga. Whatever comes to your mind, no? Whatever comes to your senses, meron yung meaning, no? Meron yung ibig sabihin, no matter how insignificant it is. Yan, kasi mahalaga siya dahil hindi mo daw siya maiisip, hindi siya maaalala kung hindi siya ganun ka-significant. Alright? And then, here is the later na therapeutic technique. Ibig sabihin, mga sumunod na therapeutic technique ni Freud. Yan. So, free association and dream analysis. Okay, so parang halos pareho lang din naman nung kanina, di ba? Yung nga lang, medyo may pagka-hypnosis yung dating nung nauna. And then sa free association kasi, you don't have to go back to your past memories or to imagine yourself, ganyan, or to lie down and sleep. But you can do this awake, no? You can do this consciously. Yeah, you are just required to verbalize every thought that comes to your mind, no matter how irrelevant or repugnant it may appear. The purpose is to arrive at the unconscious by starting with a present conscious idea and following it through a train of associations to wherever it leads. Yan. So, sasabihin mo lang, babanggitin mo lang, di ba? Verbalize. Ibig sabihin nito oral. No? Sasabihin mo talaga siya through your mouth. Na kung ano yung mga gusto mong sabihin, kahit na ano man yan, no? Kahit wala siyang kwenta, pero kasi may kwenta yon para kay Sigmund Freud. Okay? Kasi ang purpose nga ay para mahalukay yung unconscious, para maibalik, no, mailagay doon sa ibabaw, sa awareness, no, yung mga bagay na nasa unconscious part. Yan. And then sa dream analysis, ayan, so pinag-uusapan din ni na Freud at saka ng client yung mga panaginip ni client. Yan, kasi tinatransform, no, dapat to transform the manifest content of dreams to the more important latent or latent content. Yan, kasi nga yung manifest, ito yung surface meaning or conscious description given by the dreamer. So ito yung pagkakakwento niya, ito yung storya. Pero yung meaning behind that dream is the latent or latent content. No, yun yung unconscious material, yung hindi mo alam. Okay, yung hindi mo alam na pwedeng iparealize or interpret sa iyo ng iyong psychoanalyst. Okay? Okay. Kadalasan, kapag daw merong tinitherapy, itong si Sigmund Freud, meron siyang tinatawag na transference. No? Actually, sa counseling, meron talaga nito, 'no? Yung transference, ito yung parang kasi kapag tumatagal na yung sessions ninyo ni client, let's say mga 3 to 5 sessions already, para bang nagkakaroon ng, ano 'to, relation, 'no? Parang nakakasimpatya siya, 'no? Kailangan naman talaga na magkaroon tayo ng trust sa ating therapist, 'no, para maging, successful yung therapy or yung counseling. Yun nga lang, ang ano 'to, ang parang danger behind that, trust and then, rapport, 'no, ay yung transference na tinatawag na kung saan yung kumbaga nagkakaroon ka ng sympathy din dun sa therapist mo. Nagkakaroon ka ng feelings, no? So sabi nga dito ni Freud sa kanyang ano yun nga psychoanalytic theory, transference is a strong sexual or aggressive feeling, positive or negative, that patients develop toward their analyst during the course of treatment. So, yan yung para kay Freud, no? Syempre may sexual and aggressive ano na naman, content, no? So, parang halimbawa, ang problem niya is about her dad, no? Halimbawa, a female client, and then the problem is about her dad abusing her. So, kadalasan, yun nga, sabi ni Freud, maaring, no, it's highly possible na if the woman has a male therapist, most likely na along the treatment, magkakaroon siya ng transference sa therapist niya. No, yung nararamdaman niya, yung hostile feelings niya, hate niya sa kanyang father, may be transferred to the therapist, no? Bigla siyang magagalit, o kaya naman may masasabi siyang hindi niya nasasabi talaga sa tatay niya consciously, pero nasabi niya sa therapist niya or nagawa niya sa therapist niya na hindi niya naman nagagawa consciously sa tatay niya talaga. So, yun yung tinatawag ni Freud na transference. No, kasi parang nakikita mo sa imahe ko yung problema mo o yung person na cause ng problema mo. Yan, no? So, pwede naman tong positive, pwede ring negative. Positive, ibig sabihin, okay yun kasi parang, yun nga, nare-relieve mo ulit yung ano, yung experience na dadala mo na ngayon siya sa consciousness. Hindi na siya threatening for you kasi, ano eh, parang nako-confront mo na, di ba, yung mga issues mo with your life. Ngayon, yung negative naman, eto yung parang, yung may mga times na magagalit ka sa therapist mo or sa counselor mo, yung bigla ka na lang hindi magsasalita or hindi ka na lang basta magpapakita, ganyan. Because, meron na kasing na, ano to, meron nang na-pinpoint itong si therapist mo from you. Ngayon, hindi matanggap ng ego mo yun. Kumbaga parang, teka muna, nire-repress ko nga yun eh. Di ba? Bakit ngayon nagre-resurface yung problem? Di ba? So parang yun nga, resistance ang tawag doon. Ano? Yung bang, parang binablock niya yung ano to, yung feeling, yung experience na dapat ay pinaprocess. So, yung ganoon, importante rin yun kay Sigmund Freud. Magandang malaman yung mga resistance na yun. Kasi ibig sabihin, uy, natutumbok na natin yung problem mo, di ba? Natutumbok na natin, napipinpoint na natin yung pinaka-root cause, no? Kumbaga, successful, di ba? Na-achieve natin yung goal, which to bring back or bring to the surface the unconscious part. Yun nga lang, syempre, it will bring distress, discomfort, or anxiety to the person or to the client. Yun. Kaya mahalaga, it's very important itong transference na tinatawag. Okay? Alright, so dream analysis, again, so sabi niya, nearly all dreams are wish fulfillments. Ayan, kasi nga, syempre, sa dream, fantasy yun eh. 'Di ba, puwede mong gawin lahat ng gusto mo, lahat matutupad, lahat ng gusto ni Id, 'no, puwede do'n sa dream. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng gusto niya ay puwede sa reality. Yan. Found also in patients with traumatic experience. Ayan. Kasi nga, it's very anxiety provoking material, yung mga trauma. That's why kadalasan lumalabas talaga sila sa mga dreams, no? Flashbacks and dreams, bangungot, ganyan. So, yeah, napakaano siya, no? Maganda siyang gamitan ng dream analysis. And then dreams of these people follow the principle of repetition compulsion found in people with PTSD who repeatedly dream of frightening or traumatic experiences. Yan, kasi nga, yun nga, nagiging compulsive, no? Paulit-ulit, ibig sabihin. Parang yun at yun yung napapanaginipan niya, yun at yun yung sistema, yung pattern, no? Dahil nga gusto niyang kumawala, 'di ba? Gusto niyang kumawala sa consciousness. Kaya lang hindi pwede kasi anxious, no, itong person na to sa real life. Hindi siya makakapag-function. And then the latent content of dreams is formed in the unconscious and usually goes back to childhood experiences. Ayun na nga, yung sinasabi natin, ano, yung latent, yun yung meaning behind the dream. And usually, ito ay tungkol sa childhood experiences niya. No? Kaya hindi mo alam kung ano bang ibig sabihin nun. So maybe it's probably uh, part of your childhood experiences. Yan. While the manifest content usually stems from experiences of the previous day. Yan. Yung mga nangyari sa maghapon, usually napapanaginipan mo din yun. No, parang nauulit lang ganun. Pero syempre, yung latent content nun will go back to its childhood experiences. The interpretation of dreams serves as the royal road to knowledge of the unconscious. Yan. O, hindi ko rin alam bakit tinawag na royal road, no? Siguro dahil dreams are very fantasy, no? Parang kakaiba, ganyan, and ano ba? It's very exaggerated, kaya royal road, no? Kumbaga parang talaga ba? Malalaman ba natin sa panaginip kung ano yung totoong nilalaman ng kanyang puso, ng kanyang buhay, no? So, yon. Actually, this has no scientific evidence din. It's more like using an idiographic method, no? Yung theory ni Freud. Kumbaga parang ang source niya na para mag-come up ng ganitong klaseng theory is through his clinical cases. Kasi nag-undergo naman siya ng psychoanalysis himself, and of course, majority talaga ng mga patients niya ay dumaan sa psychoanalysis, and yun nga, usually merong mga past painful childhood experiences, and usually merong sexual abuses or trauma. Yan. Okay, and then ang tawag pala dun sa pag-transform, no, ng latent material to manifest content, kasi kailangan mo nga siyang i-bring back, no, sa consciousness, ay tinatawag na dream work. Yan, dream work. The dream work achieves its goal by the process of condensation, displacement, and inhibition of affect. O, di ba? May pagka-science. Condensation, so parang pinapalapot. So, parang may ganon. So, parang pinapalalim. Yan. Kasi yung manifest, mababaw lang yun. Ano ba, naginip ka, na lumalangoy ka sa dagat. Pero, syempre, merong ibig sabihin yung paglangoy mo sa dagat. Okay? And then, displacement, yun nga, parang nililipat natin. Kumbaga, anong meaning ng dagat? Diba? Anong meaning ng paglangoy? Yan. So, dinidisplace yan sa ibang mas realistic na bagay, di ba? And inhibition of affect, ibig sabihin, tinatanggal nito talaga yung parang takot, no, yung lungkot. Kumbaga, dapat, pag ginawa natin siyang manifest content, no, kung gusto mo siyang alalahanin or maintindihan yung panaginip mo, hindi ka dapat takot, di ba? Hindi ka dapat, kumbaga parang tatanggalin natin yung inhibition of affect mo no? Kumbaga, ready ka na malaman, no? Ready, prepared ka na masaktan. So, parang ganon. No? Prepared ka na malaman yung katotohanan. Kasi, ano yan eh, ah, unconscious nga, hindi mo nga alam yun eh. Tapos ngayon, ipapaalam sa'yo ng therapist mo, di ba? So, it's kinda scary, di ba? So, yun, you must be ready to accept, no? Or to hear the story or the manifest content of the dream. Alright, so here we are explaining yung condensation, displacement, and inhibition of affect dun sa dream work. Ayan, actually na-mention ko na siya dun sa isang slide. Well, anyway, condensation refers to the fact that the manifest dream content is not as extensive as the latent level, indicating that the unconscious material has been abbreviated or condensed before appearing on the manifest level. So, yun nga, sabi ko nga kanina, parang kailangan mo talaga siyang palalimin pa, di ba? Para maintindihan no, yung unconscious level, yung unconscious material na sinasabi natin, yung latent. Okay? And then displacement, meaning, ayun na nga, the dream image is replaced by some other idea only remotely related to it. So, yung mga symbols, tulad nga nung sinabi ko, di ba, na nanaginip ka, na naliligo ka sa dagat or something. So, yung dagat is a symbol, no? Meron siyang ibig sabihin. So, for example, dito kay Freud, ayan, the phallus, no? Yan, sabi nga kasi niya, may sexual content talaga yung kanyang theory. So, kapag daw nanaginip tayo ng mga elongated objects such as sticks, snakes, or knives, it represents phallus, no? Or the male sex organ. And then the vagina, no? Any small box, chest, or oven. Yan. So if you dreamed about any small box, no? Yung mga lalagyan. Ayan. It's you're dreaming about a vagina. And parents, ayan, ang symbol naman ay yung president, a teacher, or one's boss. Yan. So, if you have encounter with the teacher sa dream mo, maybe you have hostile or aggressive feelings towards your parents. And then, growing bald, no, losing teeth, or any act of cutting means that you have castration anxiety. So, you are fearing of something that something will be taken off, no, from you, or something will be cut off, no, pwedeng gano'n. It's not literal na talagang castration na tulad dun sa Oedipus complex. Okay. And then, dreams can also deceive the dreamer by inhibiting or reversing the dreamer's affect. Yan. So, iibahin talaga yung affect mo, no? And yun nga, sabi ko nga kanina, you must be ready to accept it, no, wholeheartedly. Kumbaga, kasi nga, syempre nakakatakot yun, no, malaman mo yung totoong meaning behind your dream. It will cause you anxiety, di ba? So, ayun, kaya kailangan ready ka, prepared ka talaga. And, ayun, so, those are the dream work. Okay, Freudian slips or the parapraxis. Freud believed that many everyday slips of the tongue or pen, no, pwedeng salita, pwedeng sulat, misreading, no, mali ka ng basa, incorrect hearing, mali ka ng dinig, misplacing objects, and temporarily forgetting names or intentions are not chance accidents, but reveal a person's unconscious intentions. O, diba? So, ibig sabihin, yung mga para-praxis na to ay merong ibig sabihin, mayroong meaning behind. Okay? Hindi ka basta-basta makakalimot daw ng walang dahilan. Lahat daw yan ay mayroong um, motivation, no? May nag-drive sa'yo. In all Freudian slips, the intentions of the unconscious supplant the weaker intentions of the preconscious, thereby revealing a person's true purpose. Oh. Sabihin na overpower ni unconscious level no? Kasi gusto kang pagtakpan kasi nga it's threatening to the ego. Kaso hindi na kaya, hindi kaya ni preconscious harangin, no? Yung pag-uumalpas ng mga material na nandoon sa unconscious level. Kaya ayun, nare-reveal, no, yung true purpose kung bakit niya nasabi yun, nagawa yun, or mali siya ng dinig, or something, ganyan. So, for example, a young man attracted to the female clerk ordered a six-pack of beer. Okay? So, instead of saying a six-pack, kasi nga nakatingin siya dun sa female clerk na siguro ay syempre attractive, ganyan. So, ayun, imbes na six, ang nasabi niya is sex. Freud himself, after worrying about money matters, he strolled the tobacco store and picked up his usual supply of cigars and left the store without paying for them. Ayan. Kasi nga nag-worry siya about pera. No? Siguro inisip niya wala na siyang pera, lugi ang negosyo, ganyan. And then habang siya ay pumasok no, sa loob ng isang tindahan, bumili siya ng tabako, nakalimutan niya magbayad. Ayun. So, hindi daw yun kumbaga, hindi niya nga sinasadya, pero meron yung ibig sabihin na kaya mo nakalimutan magbayad is because you are thinking uh, uh, an anxiety-provoking thought, which is yun nga, financial matters. Okay? Okay, so here are the related studies dito sa psychoanalysis. So, sabi nga natin, nag-evolve yung neuroscience and cognitive psychology ngayong modern day era, and then it has rooted actually from a Freudian theory. Okay, it began to converge the many cognitive and affective processes that were very consistent with basic Freudian theory. Non-conscious processing of information and memory, or what they called implicit cognition. So dati, kung sinasabi ni Freud, no, yung mga unconscious level na yan, ngayon, sa cognitive psychology, tinatawag siyang implicit. Kasi ang implicit, ang ibig sabihin niyan ay hindi mo rin siya alam, no? Kumbaga non-awareness. Pag sinabing implicit, para siyang more on skills and procedures. Halimbawa, pag sinabi mo, di ba merong two kinds of memory, the explicit and implicit. So, explicit, you need conscious awareness to remember something, to remember names, dates, places, things, no? Sa implicit, dito naman nakalugar yung mga, let's say, mga halimbawa, yung mga skills like reading skills, writing skills, math skills, driving skills, even toothbrushing, di ba? And taking a bath. Mga skills yan na hindi mo naman kailangan maging consciously aware kapag ginagawa mo sila. Kumbaga, automatic sila na nagagawa mo even without consciously thinking about them, di ba? Kasi nga, kumbaga, may mga step by step siya. Noong una, siguro, sa driving, conscious ka pa, pero once na nasanay ka na napunta na siya sa long-term memory mo, then it becomes automatic, di ba? So, it becomes implicit. Ganun. Okay? 95% of our behaviors are unconsciously determined. This conclusion is completely consistent with Freud's metaphor that consciousness is merely the tip of the iceberg. Ayan. Kasi nga talagang no, kumbaga parang di bahid talaga ng katotohanan na parang majority of our behaviors cannot be explained, no, by what we see, by what we hear, by what we sense, no? Kumbaga may mga bagay talaga or may mga kilos tayo, may mga feelings tayo na hindi natin maunawaan. Bakit kaya ganito? 'Di ba? Bakit kaya ganoon? Yan. Kaya talagang inilalaban niya no, yung pagkakaroon natin ng unconscious mind. Okay, psychoanalysis and neuroscience together could make useful contributions in these 8 domains. No? Actually, neuroscience is brain behavior, no? Studying the brain and behavior uh, development. The nature of unconscious mental processes. Ayan. And then the nature of psychological causality, psychopathology, early experience, and the predisposition to mental illness, the preconscious, the unconscious, and the prefrontal cortex. Yan. Kasi sa prefrontal cortex, nandun ang retrieval of memory. Eh, di ba ang preconscious, here lies the memory that is readily available. Yan. So, tinitingnan na dito nga ba sa prefrontal cortex, no? And then, sexual orientation, of course, psychotherapy, structural changes in the brain, psychopharmacology, as an adjunct to psychoanalysis. Kasi nga, malaki din yung ginagampanan ng anatomical uh, part ng ating mind, which is the brain, sa ating levels of mental life, ng mga unconscious, conscious, preconscious. Okay. Okay, so the unconscious mental processing. The core consciousness is a state of not being aware or awake. Usually, nandito ang pagiging awake, nandito sa brainstem. And the ascending activating system in particular is the part of the brain that most directly associated with core consciousness or unconsciousness in the sense of not being awake. Kaya, kumbaga parang pag sinabing core consciousness, hindi ka, kumbaga parang buhay ka, but yun nga, hindi ka aware or gising, no? Hindi ka gising. Actually, dun sa brainstem, yun yung nag-decide, no, kung ikaw ay conscious o hindi. Di ba? Sa doktor, sa physical field, or sa medical field, rather, kumbaga parang sinasabi na, unconscious siya. Sabihin, hindi siya awake, no? Hindi siya aware. Pero iba kasi yung consciousness na tinutukoy ni Freud sa theory niya. Okay? And then, extended consciousness, yun yung state of being aware. Okay? State of being aware. Being aware and able to reflect on one's knowledge and self is more a function of activity in the prefrontal cortex or the dorsal frontal cortex. Yun nandito sa may noo, malapit dito sa ating mukha. No, yan yung state of being aware. Yung core consciousness o yung state of not being aware or awake pero buhay naman, that is in the brain stem. Nandun yan sa loob, sa limbic system, median, sa mid part ng brain, no? Kadugtong ng, ano to? Yung sa dulo, ng end ng brain, no? Tawag doon. Di ba, forebrain, midbrain. Yan, nasa midbrain actually, kadugtong pa niya yung pinakadulo. Yung sa may, ito yung medulla oblongata, yan, magkakadugtong yan eh. Pons, yan. Kaya kapag sinuntok ka sa batok, di ba, matutulog ka, ganyan. Kasi nga, nandun yung ating consciousness na may pertaining to being aware or awake. Okay? But state of being aware or able to reflect on yourself, then iba na yun, no? Mas more like sa prefrontal cortex siya. Yan. So, noong araw, hindi pa yan na-identify ni Sigmund Freud. So, ngayon na lang yan, no? Nagkaroon ng cognitive psychology and neuroscience. Yan. The phenomenon of non-conscious mental processing or what is referred to as implicit, non-conscious, or automatic thought and memory. So, yun yung tawag doon ngayon, no? Pag sinabi mong non-conscious, automatic siya. Pero kay Freud, it can be unconscious. 'Di ba? Kung yun yung gagamitin natin. Pero yun nga, ang proper term is non-conscious sa cognitive psychology or sa cognitive and neuroscience. Okay? Okay, repression, inhibition, and defense mechanism. So, sinasabi din sa mga researches na yung repression daw, no, ay nandun sa right hemisphere. Kaya kapag may damage dun sa region na yon, it becomes artificially stimulated and then the repression goes away. So, dun lang nagkakaroon ng alaala, no? Awareness. Ayan. So, syempre, research siya. So, pwedeng totoo sa ilan, pero hindi naman totoo sa lahat. And then, there are 4 psychological tests that were administered at the patient's homes and then scored on their degree of repressive tendencies. Kaya nagkaroon sila ng gantong parang assumption, no, na yung repression of unpalatable information, sabihin hindi maganda, hindi kaiga-igaya na information. Sabihin gusto na talagang kinalimutan sadya ng kanilang mind ay naandun nga daw sa right hemisphere. So, na-damage kasi no, yung sa right hemisphere. Kaya, nung tinest sila gamit yung Rorschach ink blot, early memories test, vocabulary test of the ways, and the steroid obsessoid questionnaire, ayun, napag-alaman doon na the more repressive style people have, the longer it takes them to consciously perceive a stimulus. Ibig sabihin, kapag daw mas ano to, gamit ang ang repression na defense mechanism. Kumbaga nakabuo na talaga siya ng style niya, unconsciously of course, mas matagal para sa kanya na i-perceive consciously yung stimulus na nakikita niya. Mas hindi niya na talaga naaalala kung ano yung mga nangyari. Kasi nga mas nagagamit niya or mas uh, umano na, no, tumatak na sa kanya yung repression na defense mechanism. Okay, research naman on dreams. Ayan, the REM or the rapid eye movement that usually occur as stage 5 during sleep. Sabi sa REM research, it showed that only brainstem regions and not higher cortical regions were involved with REM states. Kasi nga sinasabi natin sa theory of sleep naman, dreams happen during the REM or the stage 5. Okay, pero sinasabi rin ng mga research sa REM na hindi involved yung mga part ng brain tulad ng prefrontal cortex na kung saan nandun yung consciousness, di ba? Yung state of being aware natin. So, yung brainstem, ito yung nandito sa mid part, no? So, yan daw yung may activity tuwing tayo ay nananaginip. So, dreams are simply, according to research, dreams are simply random mental activity and could not have any inherent meaning. Yan, yun yung sinasabi nila. Of course, this is more like, cognitive, neuroscience, ganyan. From the perspective of this so-called activation synthesis theory, meaning is what the waking mind gives to these more or less random brain activities. But meaning is not inherent in the dream. O, di ba, napaka-cognitive kasi wala daw talagang meaning yung dream. No, hindi siya kasama dun sa dream, kundi ikaw lang ang nakaisip nun kasi ngayon gising ka na, nag-iisip ka na. So, yung nag-iisip mong brain, yung nag-iisip mong mind, siya na yung nagbibigay ngayon ng kahulugan sa dream mo. Okay? Hindi siya inherent sa dream, kundi ikaw mismo ang nagbibigay ng label, ng meaning, di ba? Doon sa mga random brain activities. Yan. So, it's a random mental activity. Dreams. Dreaming and REM are not one and the same. Okay? Kasi nga ang dreaming or random brain activities or random mental activities, it happens during REM. It usually happens during REM. But, meron ding sinasabi na it also happens during the stage 3 and 4 or the deep stage of sleep. But you cannot remember it. Okay? Sa REM kasi naaalala mo siya. No, you can remember it. Um, you can, ano to? Kaya mong makwento agad, no? Exactly yung dream mo. Okay? Lesions to the brainstem Maaring dahil sa aksidente na injured ka or surgery, do not completely eliminate dreaming. So, pwede ka pa rin managinip. Whereas, lesions to the forebrain region, okay? Yung mga lesions sa forebrain region, yung mga nasa unahan, sa frontal lobe, parietal, temporal, occipital juncture, have eliminated dreaming and yet preserve REM sleep. Okay, sabihin, nandun pa rin yung REM sleep, nandun pa rin siya, may stage 5 ka pa rin, but you are not now dreaming. Yan. Kapag may lesions malapit sa forebrain. Pero kung sa brainstem, nandoon pa rin ang dream. No, nandoon pa din. Kasi nga, yung tawag dito, yung brainstem, siya yung, 'di ba, yung sa you are state of not being aware or not awake. Yan, parang gising lang, gising ka, so aware ka sa surroundings mo lang. Not aware consciously or not reflecting about yourself, 'di ba? Aware ka lang or awake. Ganun. Okay? And then Boag, 2006, proposes that the basal ganglia and amygdala may be key brain structures responsible for dreams, including the conversion of latent into manifest. Ayan. Why? Kasi itong mga parts ng brain na to, may kinalaman siya sa emotions. Diba? Tulad halimbawa ng amygdala, it's for the regulation of anger and fear, no? Kaya yun, maaring yun nga yung may kinalaman siya kung bakit nagkakaroon ngayon ng meaning, no? Nagkakaroon ng emotional content ng ating mga dreams because of these parts. Right? Okay, now let's go to the discussion of the concepts of humanity, yung mga versus, no? Yung mga issues sa psychoanalysis. Of course, sa determinism versus free choice, ang psychoanalysis is more like determinism. Most of our behavior is determined by past events. No? Parang wala ka ng free choice. Wala ka na mababago dyan. Kaya ka ganyan because ganito ka dati. Adult personality is largely determined by childhood experiences. And humans have little control over their present actions because many of their behaviors are rooted in unconscious strivings that lie beyond present awareness. Yan. Kumbaga wala kang magagawa dahil hindi mo nga alam kung anong pinanggalingan, kung bakit ganyan yung ginagawa mo ngayon, kung ba't yan yung nararamdaman mo ngayon. Okay, so wala masyadong control. So, more like determinism. Okay, sa pessimism naman versus optimism, ang psychoanalysis ay nakapaling sa pessimism, no? The innate death wish drives us incessantly toward self-destruction or aggression. Yeah, kasi nga meron tayong innate death wish daw, sabi ni Freud, no? Meron tayong nga sex and aggression, di ba? Life and death instincts. Kaya prone talaga tayo na magalit, mag-away, no? Mag-self-destruct, ganyan, kapag tayo ay na-anxious or na-stress. And then the sexual drive naman, it causes us to seek blindly after pleasure. Ayan, kumbaga parang sige-sige lang, no? Gusto natin ng sarap kahit na alam naman natin na baka yun ay makasama para sa atin. Antisocial behavior lies just underneath the surface of even the most peaceful person. O, diba? So, sinasabi ni Sigmund Freud na kahit gano'n ka pa kapayapan tao, meron kang antisocial behavior kasi all of us have this aggressive drive or the death instinct. Okay, meron talaga tayong destructive side of the personality. We are not ordinarily aware of the reasons for our behavior, nor are we conscious of the hatred we feel for our friends, family, and lovers. Yan. Hindi talaga. Kadalasan talaga hindi natin alam kung ano ang mga rason sa ating mga kilos, no? Nor are we conscious of, no? Hindi tayo conscious dun sa mga nararamdaman nating hatred. Kasi nga pwedeng reaction formation yan, no? Pwede ring projection, no? We do not know actually kaya unconscious. So talagang napaka-pessimistic. So parang sinasabi niya dito na masama tayong tao, ano. But of course not. Alright, so it depends on you, on which do you believe. Okay, so it's just a theory, okay? Causality versus teleology. Ibig sabihin ito, past versus the future, parang ganon. So, the present behavior is mostly shaped by the past causes rather than people's goals for the future. Okay. Yun lang ay, sabi nga natin, di ba, yung determinism. Past yan eh. People do not move toward a self-determined goal. Yan. Kumbaga, huwag ka nang ano, wala kang choice, parang gano'n, no? Kasi nga, ito ka na, pinanganak kang ganito, so ganito ka din mamamatay. So parang gano'n. So instead, they are helplessly caught in the struggle between the eros and thanatos. So parang gusto nating mabuhay, and yet mamamatay din naman. So parang may ganong struggle. Yan. People constantly attempt to reduce tension. Yan. So lagi talaga natin nire-reduce. No, para yun nga sa equilibrium. To relieve anxieties, to repress unpleasant experiences, to regress to earlier, more secure stages of development, and to compulsively repeat behaviors that are familiar and safe. Ayaw natin mag-explore. So, nananatili tayo sa ating mga comfort zone. Alright. So, causality. Siyempre, ano pa bang sagot dito, no? Conscious or unconscious? Siyempre, unconscious. Everything from slips of the tongue to religious experiences is a result of a deep-rooted desire to satisfy sexual or aggressive drives. Diba? The motivations underlying those actions are deeply embedded in our unconscious and are frequently quite different from what we believe them to be. O, diba? Akala natin yun na pala yun. No? So, naniwala tayo sa sarili nating akala. Ayan. So, dahil nga unconscious, mostly, no, the large part of the mind that motivates our behavior is in the unconscious level, the one that we do not see. Okay? Social versus biological, may pagka-biological din. No? More like biological ang theory ni Freud. He believed that many infantile fantasies and anxieties are rooted in biology. Kasi sinabi rin niya, di ba, anatomy is destiny. So, biological talaga. So, naniniwala din siya na kung ano yung meron kang sex organ, edi yun ang pagkatao mo, di ba? Uniqueness versus similarities. Dito may pagka-uniqueness, no? Kasi ang basis lang naman ni Freud sa theory niya is his own clinical patients. So, using case histories. Yan. So, ang na-measure mo dyan is yung pagiging unique ng bawat isa. Humanity's evolutionary past gives rise to a great many similarities among people. Okay? Kung evolutionary perspective ang titingnan. However, individual differences, especially those of early childhood, kasi nga iba-iba tayo ng mga pinagdadaanan, shape people in a somewhat unique manner and account for many of the differences among personalities. Kasi nga, yung una, evolutionary past, ibig sabihin yung phylogenetic endowment, meron tayong mga bagay na maaaring pinag-sharean ng mga ancestors natin na kaya hindi natin mapaliwanag ngayon kung ba't natin din ginagawa yun o nararamdaman. Pero individually, meron tayong kanya-kanya mga buhay, iba-ibang nanay, tatay, na nagpalaki, nag-aruga. So, definitely, magkakaroon tayo ng mga differences among our personalities. So, dito siguro medyo half-half, partially unique and partially similar.